All right, so you're going to hear from me now. I want to let you know why we started Australians for Better Government, because we feel like this country is not on the right track, and it hasn't been on the right track for a long time. We think that all the problems that we've faced in this country are the result of bad government. Now, let's look at that. The gross national debt is forecast to reach over $1 trillion as forecast by the government's own budget in 2023-2024. Now, Kevin will say that's even higher because they need to include state debt as well. So we owe a tremendous amount of debt in this country. Electricity prices have skyrocketed and we face the risk of blackouts now, despite having cheap, reliable and abundant energy. Housing is unaffordable, rent's unaffordable, and many young Australians have no prospects of owning a home in this country, despite being one of the biggest countries in the world with plenty of land to build homes. And in the past, a single income could pay for the family, buy a car, buy a home, just all on the one income. So what's changed? Our manufacturing industry has moved offshore and is almost non-existent. Manufacturing in Australia peaked in the 1960s at 25% of the GDP of the country. It has since dropped below 10%. At one stage, manufacturing employed almost a third of the Australian workforce. At the track that we're on now, it's going to be a third of people working for the government soon. In World War II alone, Australia manufactured 755 Warraways, 705 Beauforts, 250 Boomerangs, 365 Beaufighters, 104 Mosquitoes, 16 Mustangs and almost 2,000 aircraft engines. The manufacture of the Beaufort is generally regarded as Australia's greatest manufacturing achievement. Now, of course, we don't teach our youth that. They don't know about any of this stuff. But think about our defence capabilities now. We used to build our own aircraft in this country. We're really behind in the defence of our nation. Our individual freedoms are being eroded with threats to free speech, bodily autonomy and the introduction of a digital ID. And our health system is in crisis, with many Australians being turned away at hospitals, facing extended delays without care or treatment. And we are heavily taxed with no serious discussions on tax reform. So, what is the solution? We need to improve the performance of our government and deliver better outcomes for the Australian people. But you need to ask a question of what is government? At the end of the day, what is it really? It's just words on a piece of paper. Our constitution, our laws, everything doesn't mean anything if the Australian people don't agree with it. Now, of course, our laws and government and everything is enforced by force, by the military and our police and everything like that. But eventually, if enough people push back, you get this. Revolution. Now, I'm certainly not calling for revolution because look, revolution leads to bloodshed, and we definitely don't want that. But I'm more just pointing out the fact that we do have a lot of power in this country, and if we can organise a professional, organised movement, we can achieve change. So where do we start? What are the steps to achieve better government? And I'm glad that Jared Rennick brought up separation of powers, because that's where I want to focus on as well. Now, we're told in this country that we do have a separation of powers, but as Jared said, we don't. We're told that it's a separation between the House of Representatives and the Senate. No, they are both in the one branch of government, and it's a bicameral system, but they're still within the one branch of government, which is the legislature, the Parliament. Now, the Parliament has the power to make and change a law. The next branch of government is the executive, the power to put law into action. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. The third branch is the judiciary, the power to make judgments on the law. So, this is our current Governor-General. Now, the Governor-General is selected by the Prime Minister and the government of the day. When have the Australian people been asked whether that's appropriate? Here at Australians for Better Government, we say we should be electing the Governor-General, not selecting the Governor-General. Now, the current Governor-General, Sam Mostyn's on this mission to reverse declining civics scores, which we support. We do think that our youth should be taught civics, just like we're talking about civics today in a lot of ways. But you'll see in the quote here at the bottom, she says that, "I think misinformation and disinformation is the great scourge of our time." What does that have to do with civics? Is tackling the issue of misinformation and disinformation, is that an issue that the Australian people want? Did we elect someone to tackle that issue? This is the Governor-General who's selected pushing this view. So this is an idea or a reason why we think the Governor-General should be elected, because who decides what misinformation and disinformation is? The main thing is we didn't ask for anyone to advocate for that as well. So look, this is Chapter 2 of the Constitution. This is Section 61. So the executive power of the Commonwealth is vested in the Crown. It says Queen because the government website hasn't updated since we've had a king. I think it's about 2 years. And is exercisable by the Governor-General as the Crown's representative, and extends to the execution and maintenance of the Constitution and of the laws of the Commonwealth. So what it's really saying is that the Governor-General should be the head of the executive branch of government, not the Prime Minister. If we're going to have the Governor-General run the executive branch, then the ministers should also be selected by the Governor-General. So at the moment, Section 64 talks about how ministers are selected. So the Governor-General may appoint officers to administer such departments of the state of the Commonwealth as the Governor-General in Council may establish. Such officers shall hold office during the pleasure of the Governor-General. They shall be members of the Federal Executive Council and shall be the Crown's Ministers of State for the Commonwealth. So what it's basically saying is that the ministers should work for the Governor-General. But at the moment, the Prime Minister picks his ministers from the people that are in the lower house. So there is one line in the Constitution that completely screws up our whole system of government, and that's this line here, which sits under Section 64. It's the ministers to sit in Parliament line. And it says, after the first general election, no Minister of State shall hold office for a longer period than 3 months unless he is or becomes a senator or member of the House of Representatives. So this line is saying that the ministers that are selected have to sit in Parliament. And we say that this is the line that's screwing up our system. So let's take a real life example. Let's look at defence. Now, this is the profile of our current Deputy Prime Minister. He's also the Minister for Defence, Richard Marles. And this is the profile that is on his Minister for Defence website. And you can see he's held, obviously, other ministries before. He was, talks about how he was raised in Geelong, and then down the bottom it says he's a devoted Geelong Cats supporter, a golf fanatic, a keen photographer, and a snow dome collector. I don't know what he's going to do when another country invades. Are we going to be throwing snow domes at the enemy? Because it doesn't say anything on here about defence. He's had no experience in defence at all, despite the fact that he's now the Defence Minister. Well, and as John and Ruddick said at our previous event, he probably hasn't even fired a gun. So this is what his bio doesn't say. So he joined the Melbourne University Labour Club in his first week at university. He served as president of the Melbourne University Student Union in 1988. He was the General Secretary of the National Union of Students in 1989. He started his career as a solicitor with Melbourne industrial law firm Slater and Gordon. In 1994, he became legal officer of the Transport Workers Union and was elected their National Assistant Secretary 4 years later. In 2000, he joined Australia's peak national union body, the Australian Council for Trade Unions, as Assistant Secretary, remaining in that position until he was elected in 2007. So what that says to me, he probably should be the Minister for Unions, not the Minister of Defence. So if we were to delete that line in the Constitution, what would the alternative be, or what could the alternative be? Here's one option. General Peter Cosgrove, born in Sydney in 1947, son of a soldier, fought in Vietnam commanding a rifle platoon. Awarded the Military Cross in 1971 for his performance and leadership. Commander of Interfed in 1999 in East Timor. I'm sure we all remember that. Promoted to Lieutenant General and was appointed Chief of the Army in 2000. After a further promotion to General, he served as Chief of the Defence Force between 2002 to 2005. Now, I don't know if Peter Cosgrove would accept a role as Minister for Defence. This is just to point out that we could have someone of that calibre as the minister, as they do in the United States of America, where the President, essentially our Governor General, selects or nominates potential ministers, and then they're approved by the Senate. So I'm going to ask you the question, the Australian people, who would you like to see as Defence Minister? Cosgrove? Anyone for Richard Marles? Kevin Lockray? Yeah, well, that would be a good option. Yeah, well, that's correct. Right, so this is what we stand for. We want to take that line and put a big red line through it and remove it from the Constitution. We'll need to go to a referendum to do that, but I'm sure if the Australian people explained this issue and we asked them, they will accept this. So that's what we really want to push for. Now, this is the current Albanese cabinet. I'm not picking on Labor, it's just the fact that they're in government. So you can extend this to previous governments as well. Now let's look at this in a little bit more detail. Our current Climate Change and Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, born in 1973, elected to Fairfield Council in 1995, left in 2004, elected to Parliament in 2007. Where's his experience in the energy sector?
In the circus.
Well, Katie Gallagher, Minister for Finance. This is an important ministry. Studied political science and sociology, worked as a social worker. She later had an administrative job at the Community and Public Sector Union. Here again, we go again, union. Elected to the ACT Parliament in 2001 before entering federal politics. And last but not least, so we all know that he grew up with a single mum in Housing Commission, right? We all know that? He studied economics at Sydney University but never applied it. During his time in student politics, Albanese led a group within Young Labor that was aligned with the hard left faction. It maintained links with broader left-wing groups such as the Communist Party of Australia, People for Nuclear Disarmament, and the African National Congress. As a student, he joined the Labor Party and later worked as a party official and research officer before entering Parliament in 1996. I was in Year 6 at the time. I was living in his electorate. He's been in Parliament ever since. What does he really know about the pressures that the Australian people are dealing with, some of the challenges that we're dealing with in everyday life when he's been in Parliament that long? So, what are some better options? Anyone? So I want to recap on some of the things that Australians for Better Government are pushing for. We want to elect the Governor General. We want to elect the Attorney General, which Kevin touched on before. We want to ensure a true separation of powers, not the facade that we have now. We want to delete the ministers to sit in Parliament line in Section 64 out of the Constitution. And we want to allow the Governor-General to run the executive branch, so you have a contest of ideas and accountability between the two branches, and that the Governor-General would then nominate the ministers to the Senate to be approved. But some of the things I haven't talked about and I won't have time to talk about today that Australians for Better Government also stand for is that we want to advocate for another referendum to remove Section 51, subsection 26 of the Australian Constitution, otherwise known as the Race Clause. That allows the government to make laws based on people's race and other things. We want to remove that and amend that so that the government cannot make laws based on someone's race, sex, ethnicity, whatever it might be. So the Constitution is completely colourblind. We want to reform the Senate by banning political affiliation or banning any affiliation to a political party or political organisation. So if you've been in the trade union, you're not going in the Senate. This ensures, as Adam said before, that the Senates are all upper houses as well, not just the Senate, all upper houses in Australia are all independents, so that these upper houses are the true houses of review. Sure, we need political parties in the lower house to form governments, but in the upper house, we should be looking at policy as it comes in and judging it on its merits, not judging it on what political party that you're in. And the best example was Ralph Abet recently went into Parliament, wanted to push forward an amendment to enshrine free speech in the Constitution, and he was blocked purely because he's in the United Australia Party and no one wanted to support him. Now, we want to reintroduce the Legislative Council here in Queensland. We also want to enshrine freedoms in the Constitution. I think that was exposed during COVID. What would I do without my helpful counsellor? And we want to introduce citizens-initiated referenda. So there's a lot of proposals that we have. I can't go into all of them today, but if you head to our website, australiansforbetter.com, you can download our prospectus. That's basically the Bible of Australians for Better Government. It outlines all our official proposals, and if you can download that as a PDF, please share it out, please share it around. We want to spread the word of Australians for Better Government as best we can. Now, what are the next steps for us? Now, we want you to join us. The more people that are behind Australians for Better Government, when we go and lobby politicians, they're going to say how many members that you have. How many members do you have? The more members we have, the more powerful our movement will be. So please head to our website and sign up to be a member. As I said, we want to lobby politicians. We want to hold events and forums, just like this one here today. We want to do that around the country. Hopefully, when we build up enough people in support, we can have constitutional conventions, people's constitutional conventions, where the politicians can sit outside and the everyday people, the everyday Australian people can sit inside and nut out some of these views and things that we can do forward. We want to hold rallies. We also want to spread the word, and most of all, we want to get active. So if you guys can jump on board with us, that's what we need. We need a real people's movement behind us. So again, I want you to ask yourself, what is government? Obviously, the more traction that we get, we're going to have the naysayers come out and say, oh, well, you guys don't really understand the Constitution, or there's conventions in place, or there's laws that are in place and you haven't taken under consideration. I just want you to go back to what is government at the end of the day. It's just words on the paper, and we can change all those words. We can wipe it clean if we want to and start from scratch. I think the Constitution's a good document and a good base that we can start with. It's a wonderful document as a base to work with and improve. But the naysayers will try and attack us, and we'll just say it's up to the Australian people to decide.